Welcome to the AirCon Vault. Here you can find the recordings of the live streams from Evergle's audio conference. These are made free thanks to our sponsors: A Sound Effect, Aftertouch Audio, Boom Library, FMOD, Game Audio Learning, Game SoundCon, Kilohertz, Rev Rooms, Soundcut, Strata from Audio Kinetic, and Evergle, the online home for audio people. We hope you enjoy the video.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this interview, friendly chat and talk between me and Joonas Turner. Super glad that you joined in, and thank you again to Lewis and Greg and the other 10,000 goblins behind them organizing this whole thing. It's been a blast so far, and I'm very excited to be part of it together with you, Joonas, and I hope that this chat will be nice and fun. So, as you've seen with the title of this talk, it's going to be, the main focus is going to be wearing many hats in audio. So we're going to talk about doing multidisciplinary, he came prepared. Man, I suck, which I would have made that fun. Now you have to stay this way the whole freaking interview. Your brain's going to overheat. So it's going to be focused on wearing multiple hats, multidisciplinary kind of thing, maybe communicating with different parts of the game dev team, and this kind of broader perspective thought process that seems to be something that Joonas is very good with. And I wanted to say a couple of things. We will be talking about this, but we will also be talking about all sorts of other subjects as well, some of which will be open for a poll, which I will post later for you to vote on. So just to keep it in mind, we will have 3 extra topics that we might go into depending on your request. First one might be hands-on sound design methods, so just like, Jonas's favorite ways to approach sound design and tricks and tips and everything. Second will be working on multiple different games simultaneously. We did not say it, and Joonas will introduce himself soon enough, and he probably will mention it, but he's worked on over 100 freaking games. That's pretty crazy. So he definitely had his share working on more than one at the same time, so that could be an interesting topic to dive into. And lastly, combining sound design with music. So the interesting relationship between sound design and music, something he's had to tackle a lot. But these are like possible topics we'll get to eventually, which you will have the ability to vote on. But till then, I think that we will just dive into it. What do you say?
Yeah.
So let's start with just, an introduction. If you just feel like tell us a bit about yourself. Go ahead. Shoot.
All right. So hello indeed. I am Joonas Turner. I'm a sound designer, music composer, voice actor, believe it or not, game designer, and audio engineer, amongst other stuff. I've always been interested in audio in its various forms. My background comes from music to kind of movie stuff, and when I got interested in movie stuff, I started making my own games more actively. So kind of these two worlds got married really well together at the early stages, and then at some point I just started making video game sounds mainly. And here we are.
Nice. Cool. So just to, as part of the intro, I will kind of read out the list of stuff that you felt like are your favorites, just to give people an idea of what you've worked on. If you're too lazy to have read the chat, that's fine. I'll do it for you. So as I said, worked on over 100 games. Some of them, Jonas's favorites being Nuclear Throne, Downwell, Scourgebringer, Atomic Crops, Noida, Badlands, Badlands 2, Badland Brawl, Broforce, Bleed 2, Bleak Sword, Cult of the Lamb, Environmental Station Alpha, The Swapper, Torminator X Punisher, Carry On, Go Make a Ball, and Paperhead, and many, 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 many more. And honestly, if any of these games are some that you like, feel free to ask questions about them in the chat. Hopefully, it's been used. It's still somehow in your memory, although some of them have been quite some time ago. And I think that we'll be glad to refer to them. But if you feel like answering, like, what sort of games have you been working on lately as well? And also, what is the sort of type of game you usually work on? Like, what's like the typecasted game that you usually get to touch and work on?
Yeah, so I mean that's an interesting one, kind of the games that I get asked to work on and which I prefer to work on. But I had this weird moment in my life when I started working in games. I kind of my start was kind of I started with Badland. Badland was my very first commercial game. It's
Oh, wow.
a mobile game with physics interactions and all this stuff.
That's cool.
So immediately, I mean, I was used to making my own games and like sounds for my friends' games, which were like really simple designy things. And then my first thing was Badland, which was right away deep dive into FMOD and physics systems and figuring out stuff like changing pitch via time and all this stuff. It was wild, scary, but interesting. And during Badland, kind of the nuclear throne stuff started happening too. We made this game called Wasteland Kings for Mojang, which is kind of proto-nuclear throne. That's where nuclear throne came from. And then these two games kind of couldn't be more different from each other. One is kind of this mobile physics thing, and one is this kind of top-down shooter game, just all-out action. I mean, there's similarities, of course, but kind of different. So I had this weird path of people hiring me for the physics stuff, and then people hiring me for the kind of over-the-top action stuff, like action game sounds. So I kind of had this thing, and I enjoy both, because the physicsy one is interesting, kind of, it's interesting to record, edit, and make a world alive by physics, or physics sounds.
Yeah.
And then again, making like gurgly mutants, shooting sounds, come on, that's pretty badass stuff too.
Those.
And yeah, so I had to kind of, I never really chose between them. I would just work on anything that kind of came my way and felt appropriate for me being in the project. But I don't know. I like both.
Yeah, for sure.
Still.
But just with a broader umbrella to put this under, would you say most projects you work on are more indie oriented, or like?
Yeah, it's a weird one. Like, actually, I need to rephrase this in a good way. Most games that so far, I mean, I'd like to work on a lot of games, but like the ones that I kind of hold dearest to me are usually kind of more indie ones.
Okay, cool.
Kind of like working with Lambeer on Nuclear Throne and Ultrabugs and, Bleed 2, Bleaks, or Call of the Lamb, all these games. They're kind of their own fun thing that I enjoy that kind of mentality with sound design. It's less systems driven, it's more design driven, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Kind of
more simple. There's more place for creative expression. Just thinking about character and really shaping it with mechanics that could repeat themselves, but just injecting a lot of personality.
Yeah, but then again, like the stuff that I probably worked, maybe it's just a little bit more than the kind of indie action stuff is a whole bunch of mobile games.
Oh.
Yeah, Finland is kind of the country for mobile games.
Oh, okay.
We have Rovio, Supercell, and everything under their umbrellas. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. So I feel like a lot of talks are usually like the bigger double AAA people. I think it's a cool, refreshing experience trying to think about and talk about like smaller scale games, mobile games. So anyone that's interested in that.
Yeah, and I've had the weirdest bad luck with AAA games.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of this slice of my career that I still technically, contractually can't talk about. But there's not a bunch, just a few AAA games that I've been involved in that just never came out or got they got shelled mid-production or other stuff. It's kind of this weird void, weird void, a part of my life that I can't really.
Yeah, it's
I
rough.
can talk about my experiences, but I can't go into specifics due to legal reasons.
Yeah, these are very rough in that aspect. All right, so intro behind us. Let's dig into the main topic. So, as we've said, we'll be trying to talk about the whole thing of wearing many hats as sound designer. You can do it if you want. I won't stop you.
That gimmick, that's done.
Say that now. Let's just wait 30 minutes. So I didn't say one last thing I wanted to mention about questions. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the Q&A tab, and I will sort them by popularity. So also vote for the questions you like. And I will try to blend them into the talk as we go. It's not going to be this kind of thing where we'll keep questions to the end. If I see a question that's pretty relevant to what we're talking about, I feel like would be fun to ask, I'll pop it in. So you don't have to wait to the end of the talk. Just go ahead and shoot and vote for your favorite questions. And I will definitely get a better feel of what's interesting to you. And we will definitely navigate this chat according to what you want to hear. But let's start with the hats. So, what sort of hats would you say you wore, during work on different projects, different types of responsibilities you'd have, either just like full-on responsibility as game design or game dev kind of thing, or just the hats you had to wear as a sound designer, interacting with the team, adapting a new mindset. So, what would you say these were?
Oh yeah, that's a bunch. It also changes from project to project. But sound design is the most usual one. So being a sound designer, communicating with the team, all this stuff, and most of my work is solo. If I'm a sound designer, it's usually just me hired as a sound designer. But I've also worked on projects where I've been either the lead sound designer or under some. Wait. I might be lying.
I hate this line.
Oh no, sorry. I'm tripping. Yeah. So yeah, either as a lead sound designer or working under a lead sound designer in a team. I've done that stuff. Voice acting and voice act directing. That's something I've done, and it's actually pretty fun. Wouldn't mind to do more of that. And then music composing, as well as a musician. There's another composer, and then they need someone to play. Let's say a guitar or synths or trumpet or whatever.
Performing kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and then game design and marketing. That's kind of
marketing.
Yeah.
You keep adding hats like it's something like we all usually do for our games, but no, it's pretty out there. But it's cool. Okay.
Yeah, and some games, let's say, Go Make a Wallpaper Head and so on and so on. I'm kind of hired to do sound design and music kind of primarily, but then I also might help with game design or trailers or going to events to promote the game, show the game at booths and stuff.
And is game design or these kind of hats usually something that you initiate and offer to help with, or will the devs actually ask you to do these kind of things?
Yeah, it depends. Tormentor X Punisher is a game that is kind of my game. I designed it and I made the prototype version of it, and once it went into commercial kind of step, I got another programmer, Bo Bliff, and then a graphics artist, Tuukka Stefansson, to help me. But yeah, let's say Go Make a Paperhead. Well, Paperhead actually is a good example. The person, Shasha, who's making Paperhead, he's a Tormentor X Punisher fan.
Oh.
This is mind-blowing to me, and yeah, and I was just chatting with him, and he's like, hey, if you have any game design ideas or anything, any feedback for anything, just write to him. Yeah.
Feels like the smaller the team or the smaller the production, the more diverse and outgoing your responsibilities can get. So yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, I enjoy that. It's like being in a band. It's fun.
Band for games, yeah, for sure. What would you say was like the most helpful hat to learn how to wear? Like, there's some sort of discipline that you weren't really familiar with, let's say at the start, but you sort of got into while sound designing for games, and through your experience with projects, have seen like how impactful this sort of hat or skill or proficiency has been for your work.
This is gonna be somewhat a boring answer, I think. Well, maybe potentially.
All right.
Social skills, like talking to
Social
people,
skills.
like
Boo.
that's extremely important. Like I know people who don't really have that, and they've had difficulties like communicating with projects, and like everything they've received, they think it's negative and attacking them, and then they get defensive and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's probably not that. Like someone might just write something, but they are like in the middle of thinking of something else. It's right. Hey, footsteps don't work. You need to fix these. And it's not necessarily a hey,
You're
footsteps
bad.
don't work. Yeah, it might just be hey, footsteps aren't working. Like then you open them, you're like, oh yeah, there's like a spike in 20 hertz. Let's cut that away. Like it's just kind of learning that not everyone is attacking you, and and also me, I'm, believe it or not, not extremely, but like quite shy. And as a kid, I was even more shy. So I had to kind of build this social confidence in a sense.
Yeah. It's a bunch of nerds here. I think we can all relate.
Exactly.
Yeah, it takes time.
But
Interesting.
yeah,
Not the hat I was
yeah,
expecting, but cool.
yeah. And knowing when to say something and when to not say something. That's also from the music world, recording bands and stuff. If I'm hired as a recording engineer, I am not a producer. So if someone does something that I go like, I wouldn't do that, but it's not my job to tell them how to make their art. Like it might be the coolest thing ever. And listening to some guitar band being like, oh, that's out of tune. Should I say no? Unless they ask me, no, because that might be the hook for something, but I just don't know it. Then later on, when it's mixed and everything's produced, it's like, oh wow,
Now I get it.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. So when to input, like share input, and when to just let the artist do their thing. That's definitely an important thing.
Yeah, same with games.
Yeah. So I'm gonna be annoying and like sort of ask this question again, but from a professional perspective, just because I'm curious. I think that social skills are extremely important. That's probably 60% of of like just being present and communicative is many times a lot more important than your actual professional skills, and we'll overcome that for sure. But I'm curious if there's any sort of like actual professional hat knowledge kind of thing, like art, design, programming, voice acting, like any of these hats you feel like were very important for you to be able to learn how to wear or like navigate. And if not, that's fine. Just curious about that.
Let me think. Let me think. So,
Wow, that thinking.
I mean, the socializing thing was definitely the hardest one, kind of to learn and kind of get over. But I mean, I feel like something like how would I like? Damn, that's a hard
It's
question
like
to answer.
curveball, huh?
Yeah, it is. So I mean, I guess the answer also is just sound design itself for video games. Because like when I was learning sound design, in general, I would learn via watching making of documentaries with movies. Because there wasn't really, it was almost impossible to find making of documentaries of video games. Wait, am I answering the right question? What was the question again? Just quick.
Question is, in general, the question was if there's like like a profession or proficiency out of sound design that's like that has to do with your colleagues working on a game. Let's say developers, artists, game designers, voice actors, musicians, other classes. Is there like any sort of professional knowledge you acquired that has to do with a different field in game development that really helped you with
Yeah. The hats, they were too much. My
they were
brain's
everything.
fried.
A little
But
bit. Okay.
yeah, learning like another class.
Yeah, so another
Yeah,
class. Which one was like the most, would you say,
game
helpful?
design.
Game design?
Easily game design.
Interesting.
And especially programming side of game design.
Would you
Definitely.
feel like expanding on that a bit, or like
Yes.
why is that helpful, or how do you like feel like it was helpful to you?
Yeah, so knowing about the technical side is extremely important, I feel like, as a sound designer. Of course, like there's stuff like technical sound designers and stuff like that, but as a sound designer, knowing how, let's say, a sound gets triggered already affects the design. Like you can design around that. Okay, this is going to be a looping sound. This is going to be a looping sound, but made out of one-shot sounds. Also, stuff like identifying bugs and stuff like
Yeah.
knowing kind of re-trigger stuff. Like let's say you play a game and you jump and it's like, ooh, that's not a jump sound. And then you realize, oh, I'm triggering this sound, 64 times a frame or something.
Oh, whoops.
Yeah, but like knowing and kind of adjusting your thinking to that kind of thinking, kind of the technical stuff, really helps with designing. And also, when I say designing, not just like this is what the sound's going to sound like, but designing as in what am I going to record? How am I going to record this? Do I want more bass info in the start, less bass info in the start? All these kinds of things. The technical side, I feel like, helps when you know how things are being played in the game. So these things, when you take these things into consideration, it's just easier to design something that will become more coherent, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, for sure. No, it definitely makes sense to know the know-hows of a game and understanding its logic. Like standalone sounds can be great in your DAW, but if you don't understand how they will come to be in a game, from a game designer's perspective, then it really can miss the mark a lot of times, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this is probably the last like hat question. What would you say is like the most challenging sort of hat for you to wear? Is there like a specific kind of class, as we've said before, that's like you have to do it to be able to push the game sound design forward, but it's more challenging for you for any reason, or was harder for you to learn or get into? I mean, if you're just like a badass and good and everything, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many answers and trying to kind of see what would be the easiest thread to pull right now. But from like a general sound perspective, I think mixing in general was a hard thing. Like a hat, one of the hats, which was hard to kind of learn in many ways, because like the tools that I learned with were really like primitive. You have play sound,
Yeah.
and then you have maybe volume. Hopefully, you have volume, maybe pitch. When pitch came in, ooh. But like
A whole new world.
kind of these days working in games is so much. I'm not gonna say easier, but it is easier. But like you have
You
FMOD
kids have
wise.
it easy.
Exactly. But like FMOD and stuff, it's easier in a technical sense. You can put an EQ to a sound effects bus and cut out excessive subs if you need to and all this stuff. But when you have like systems of just play sound and maybe a volume, kind of the mixing as, but it's also too many thoughts right now.
It's all right.
It's kind of when you have like a simpler system, I feel like it's kind of easier to mix intuitively. Kind of you are like, okay, this sound should just be louder and this should be quieter. You just do that. But when you have something like FMOD, for example, it's just easier to kind of overdo it and like kind of jump into it a bit too much. And it's same with music. Like, am I doing too much, or is this, or is it just good if I push faders up a bit?
So sometimes limitations can be a positive factor in just keeping you from going absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, and I've got lost in that so many times, and I don't know, but it's still nice. I would still prefer to use something like FMOD 10 out of 10 times, like a good middleware. But there's a charm. Like, quick example, quick story time. With Nuclear Throne, with Nuclear Throne, we had to make our own custom mixing thing for Game Maker. We made the game,
Game
the
Maker.
software called Game Maker, yeah. And I mean, the mixing and like audio importing tools were pretty horrible. So we made our own system that we put as a DLL into Game
That's
Maker.
cool.
Yeah, and it was just a simple play these files. You could write down the folder and files that you would sniff from or something like that. And then volumes. So I could just input volumes instead of needing to open them one by one in Game Maker and adjusting volume. We made this custom system, and in that game was really fun. I would put all the assets in the game, and it was an early access game, so we would, try things live all the time. And once I kind of got a feel of how the sounds work in the game, before release, I would put not all of the sounds, but like count the main sounds like guns and character sounds and stuff back into Pro Tools, and I would mix the game kind of inside Pro Tools, and then I would give that back into Game Maker. Yeah,
Nice.
that was kind of fun.
Yeah, putting together such a custom system sounds pretty interesting. I saw that we have a couple of questions. Matthew, I see that you've got like working on multiple titles questions, so I will keep it on the side for if we actually get into the working on multiple game segment. I think it'll be more appropriate to just answer it there, but I didn't forget you, just so you know. And if we don't get into that segment, I'll just pop this question before we move on to the next one. And yeah, maybe we can and see, there's another question from Nick Parton. We can probably answer that, then move on. And a new one. Sweet. As someone who wears a lot of hats, I'll spotlight this one. Gotta love technology. As someone who wears a lot of hats too, but has had some trouble finding consistent work, what approach have you taken to find work during more sparse periods? Did you ever consider becoming more specialized, or is being multi-skilled an advantage when finding work from your point of view?
Wow, that's a good question. And let's see how long this answer will be. I'll try to be short because this is a long topic. Really good question. I'll need to kind of dive back into my history a bit, because the only path I truthfully know is the path that I've lived.
For sure.
Yeah. So when I started working in games, I like music stuff in general, I used to work as a postal office worker, if that's the right term. And I would just save up money. That was just for me to, pay rent and all that stuff, but also save up money. I would put like a bit of money to the side, and I would save that money so that I could go to events and meet people. Of course, it was a different world back then. I haven't really been to events lately. I wish I will at some point, but we had the whole pandemic stuff and so on and so on. So the culture is maybe a bit different than back then, but still, I believe it's basic same. You meet people, you get to know people. So I would save money and go to events. So I would go to events, and if there were any games that I could promote at the event, like help like man a booth, so to say. So let's say with Badland, I would travel to different events to show the game. So stand there next to the booth, answer people's questions about the game. Hey, do you want to play this? Do you want to play this? I would do that. And what that enabled me was to meet people, of course, and kind of get to practice my social skills a bit. And the most important one was after parties. So, I would be in the booth all day, just show the game around, and then go to after parties and get to know and meet people at after parties. And then next day have maybe lunch with them and dinner with them, and go to another after party, meet more people, and meet these people's friends from here, and then these people's friends from here, and kind of get to know people like that. And I would just save up money and go to as many events as I could. Thankfully, sometimes those events were paid by the companies, by me showing the game. But a lot of them was just me, using my own money and going to like Amaze Berlin or something like that, just to go and meet people. And at the same time, I also did a lot of game jams. So I would save up money and go to game jams or online game jams, but I would always prefer location game jams because that's where I got to like meet people and actually work with them. And back then there wasn't that many sound designers at jams and stuff, so I would work on like 8 games at the same time in the jam.
Yeah, the classic.
But that opens so many doors because now I have worked with these 8 different teams, for example, and some of them might become commercial games. So, for a good example, but Nuclear Throne was a game jam game, Broforce was a game jam game, and so on and so on. Yeah.
Broforce is such a game jam game, my god.
But yeah, like projects like these were from game jams, and that was kind of a way to keep myself current in people's minds, seeing them at events, game jams, whatever else, just hanging out with people, getting to know them, and along the way I would get work from them. But then, as I mentioned, there weren't many sound designers, and I was primarily, and still am primarily interested in sound design.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so people would be like, sound designer, so you'd make music, huh? I'm like, no, 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 no. I would make the footsteps, I would make the gun sounds, all this stuff. And they're like, huh, but our musician does that. And I'm like, okay, cool. And at some point, people were like, hey, we want to try this kind of separate thing. Yeah, sound designer and this mystical sound designer and then the music stuff. And that helped me a lot to separate myself from, the then more generic, musician, sound designer. And the musicians most who I met didn't even want to do the sound design. That was just, they had to do it. So I was kind of a blessing for them to help them make that. And that would kind of help me. When I would go to events, they're like, oh, that's the sound designer, dude. And that would help me a lot.
The sound design, dude. Yeah. Nice. Just to circle back a bit to the question itself, I think part of the question was, you feel like becoming more specialized or being multi-skilled, do you feel that was, because right now you honestly spoke about specializing. You spoke about being the sound design dude actually got you in during the time you started. But would you say like being actually multi-skilled, not perhaps, musician and sound designer combo, because I think that's not exactly the thing that we're referring to here with the multi-hat thing, but more like, do you feel like being multi-skilled with either game design, development, art, whatever, is something that you feel like is an advantage in a point of view when looking for work or trying to blend in?
I would kind of say it's both. It's a weird question because it's both. Being specialized helps for finding work. People knowing that you do this thing it's a huge help. But actually working on projects, it's good too. It's a huge advantage to know about things.
Interesting.
Because
So for finding work, specialize. For actual work, like broader view.
Yeah, that's what at least my experience is. That if I meet people, I will usually say that I'm a sound designer, unless X, Y, or Z. Because sound design is kind of, people are like, oh, that's interesting, let's get you in. But with indie, especially indie stuff, it helps to be multi-skilled. Let's say it's a project and they're like, hey, we are looking for a musician and a sound designer. You're like, hey, I do both. And give them examples and stuff, or a demo. But that's my answer. Cool. But there's actually finding work in sparse moments. That was in the question. That was the sparse moments.
For sure. I think you answered it wholly and fully, no doubt. Okay, so I'll move up to a couple of other questions I had, and then we will circle back to questions from the audience as well. I think that just like the last point I kind of want to drive with the hats thing is, we can definitely encapsulate a couple of the questions into one and move on to another subject. But how do you approach like working with programmers and technical artists and like different team members? Because I think you've said stuff about your social skills being the most important skills to develop, but I'd love to get a bit more specific about that. Like how would you approach actually communicating with the different team members, dev, art, whatever, game director, game designer, whoever, like what's a good mindset to approach this sort of communication with when working on a game?
Wow, that's such a multi-part answers again. So first off, knowing what are you asking, if that makes sense. That's
Yeah.
an important part. Like
Understand what you're asking.
knowing if your question actually is. Ooh, sometimes there's questions that are just not worth asking. If that makes, I don't want to say that don't ask, but just saying that if you're working with someone and you can see, let's say, animations of characters, and you can already see that they have different shoes on or something, asking will the characters have different shoes is kind of pointless unless there's a reason to ask that. That's a bad example, but maybe that gives some kind of like, you don't need to always know everything, you just need to know things that are relevant, kind of a thing when it comes to just, you know, directly asking questions that help your work, kind of a thing. Man, that was a bad example. I can see the answer in my head, but I just can't vocalize it in the way that I want. But kind of being punctual, maybe that's being punctual. And for me, as you can see, it's already hard to answer simple questions like these. For me, it was a lot to learn to be more punctual. Like, hey, I need to know this info. Because I would usually, you know, ask about their day, how are they doing, what are they eating, was the pudding good, you know. Makes no sense be asking this shit. And then I just kind of learned, no, I need to be punctual, I need to get this answer, answer for this question, and yeah, just stuff like that. And then learning, something that I've done is learning about like different disciplines. Like when I go to these set after parties and stuff, actually I have a good.
Back to the after parties.
Damn,
Both
the branching is real.
It's a chat. It's not like a lecture. We definitely just want to hear about your experiences as well. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So quickly, I was talking about learning other people's craft. I'll put that here. So after parties, a huge thing for work, finding work is I would go to after parties and not hang out with the audio people. I would go and find, you know, game designers, visual artists and stuff. Because if I'm there with just sound people, of course I meet them too. But if I'm just there with them, they already have their work and stuff. You might get like excess work from them or something like that. But if you're just there purely to find jobs, go to the people who create these jobs.
Yeah, for sure. Back to
okay, so after parties, I would talk to like artists and, you know, visual artists, animators, technical artists, and all this stuff, just to hear about their craft, learn about it. Similar with movies, like if you are a boom operator in movies, you know, recording with a mic thing, that's professional, mic thing. It's helpful if you know about how camera lenses work, cameras, what kind of a shot is it, will your microphones be in the way of the shot and all this stuff. And I feel like that's good with games too, or important with games too. Just to like kind of know how artists work, what are their tools, and kind of what are they thinking about. Because a lot of this stuff helps with sound design or music choices as well. Especially sound and something like visual effects people. They pretty much bang on work on the same triggering systems as sound effects people, sound designers do. You know, they have, you know, punch hit wall, they have like little particle. That's the spot for a sound too. So it's kind of learned that. Now that I branched, I forgot the question, but I hope that answered
it. The question was like how to approach communicating with other people that do different percent. But that's it. You know, I think it's a lot about understanding your coworkers' professional better, their software, their tools, everything. You've answered it just fine.
Yeah, because that helps. That helps. Knowing what they do and what they go through kind of helps to you realize, okay, now they're working on these things. Now it's socially okay, acceptable for me to ask about these things.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
It helps with bringing in more relevant questions rather than just fluffing up time with things that might be a little more pointless. Yeah, cool. I feel like we've kind of touched on most of the things I wanted to go through with this subject. I'll just check in with the questions. I think there was like another has question there. Might be mistaken. Okay, we can do this and then we'll move on to a next segment. So, question from Vincent. As a sound designer using middleware, are you expected by the studio to be able to make system code from ground up, or do you just code simply to integrate the FMOD API into the game system? So the dilemma I'm facing right now. I know simple coding, but not advanced. Sometimes I do make new systems for the FMOD, but it's very simple. I will always ask and discuss with the programmer on how to do stuff. Would love to know your opinion on that. So just like summarize this thing. Are you expected to just implement, or should you be able to like program systems and do more advanced things?
So I don't know how to program properly, like code properly. Like if it's like C++ or C sharp, whatever, I simply don't know how to. And I grew up with Game Maker. I know GML. That's hardly useful for anything proper. But yeah, so yeah, indeed, I do not write the code in the game. And even though if I could, I still feel like it's detrimental for me to jump in there and kind of maybe even accidentally break something. So I would rather have someone who knows what they're looking for in the code. They know how the code works and all that stuff to program this stuff in. So yeah, I do not do the code side. I only do the FMOD side, and then I tell. Actually, this is a good one. So I tell the programmer this is how things should work. But when I work in projects, I also have this like Google Doc or whatever, something that we can all jump into and check together. I would write an implementation list. So let's say I have a system, a event with parameters. So,
Yeah.
0 to 1, this sound pitches up or something, whatever. I would write down like, okay, player gets hit. And then I would have like, this has these parameters inside it. And there's like player health. And, I would tell them, okay, scale this parameter from 0 to 1 depending on how low the player health is or something like that. I would tell them how this works, and then they would put it in the game, or we would talk about it, and then I would check it. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's also a lot of games I made like too many systems that are just never really found their way in the game. And that's kind of a reality of working in games, which is always good to keep in mind. Always have like a plan B. Like if these systems don't work perfectly, what can you do to make it still work?
Plan B. Interesting. Cool. Yeah. So in summary, it's not a must. Could be helpful. A lot of teams will just incorporate things for you and will do the coding section for you. And I guess from my perspective as well, I think it depends on the studio. Some will expect you to have more technical knowledge and will expect you to be more hands-on, but that's definitely more leaning into technical sound design territory. But yeah, it depends on the studio, and you definitely aren't. It's not a must. You don't need to be a programmer. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's very indeed studio and project dependent.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. I would love to know that stuff, but I'm too dumb.
Nah, you just have too many cents to keep you busy, or too many IKEA furniture pieces to pierce holes in.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I think that we're gonna rotate into. Oh yeah, I think that we're gonna rotate into a new segment. So if you could please hold on for a moment with the chat. Yeah, so if you could please refrain from writing in chat for a minute, I want to do a poll for our next segment. So I just put in this message, and I would love for you to choose our next topic using an emoji on this message. So as I've said, our three topics. I've seen the Q&A question, and then we will refer to it in a minute about working on multiple games. So we have 3 topics that we've prepared questions for, and we would love to discuss. And I think it all depends on like what you would like to hear. So it's your chance to influence our talk. Please post the heart emoji if you want to hear about hands-on sound design methods. So yeah, I see hearts going off in the chat. That's nice. If you want to have hands-on sound design methods, IKEA furniture expanded. If you want to hear about working on multiple different games, put in the hands thing. I would put in more appropriate emojis, but they're very limited with the gestures, so I'm stuck with these little weirdos for it. So working on different games simultaneously, that's the little hands thing. And combining sound design with music, I'd say just the whole approach of the collaboration between these 2 disciplines, sound design, music, how the relationship looks, some tips and thoughts on how to approach it in the best way. Hey, no polluting with irrelevant emojis. Who did this party? Damn it, Joonas. You're shooting us in the leg, dude. Awesome. So it looks like the majority would love to hear about hands-on sound design methods. But before we do that, I would like us to. Oh, we're still in the poll there. We're getting a bit more votes. I really don't want to go into a tie. Don't make me do it. Great. So just before we rotate into hands-on sound design methods, if we will have time, we will definitely continue discussing combining sound design with music. But just because it popped up in the Q&A section, I will refer to Matthew's question. Spotlight that one. Currently spread across 4 I mean, good for you, dude. Spread across 4 different projects and have grown quite accustomed to switching briefly and maintaining a bar. But I'm curious to know how you go about handling context switching on a regular basis and keeping potentially multiple items, multiple teams on target and motivated. So I think like a general thing about how you go about switching between projects, staying sane, keeping each aesthetic to its own, not blending between them. Yeah, pretty straightforward. But yeah, I would love to hear about that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is. So the question, just to be double sure. So switching brief, does that mean like brief from different projects or brief during the projects changing? While having multiple projects.
Matthew will have to clarify.
Yeah,
but I'm thinking just like yeah, I'm guessing that you have just like a day. You briefly have to work on this, then switch to that, then switch to this. So just like keeping a mindset per game, managing to keep it coherent for each one of them separately. Yeah. So
yeah, and that's something actually I was kind of hoping to talk about a bit. So this is how I personally work in games, which helps me with exactly this, because I'm kind of used to. These days I work pretty much 1 game at a time, but I used to work on multiple games at a time. And, they might be widely different games. So with every game, the first thing I do, of course I ask to see images of the game or videos, or if I can even play the game, I would ask for all this. Once I get that stuff, I have a pen and paper. And I would just physically write down design notes. And I would write a design document, like a design Bible, so to say, sound design Bible, where I would list everything per that project. So, the feel of the project, what should it feel like? I will just write that down, so I have it physically down somewhere. What should the project sound like? What should it feel like? What equipment will I use? And this stuff I might, if I have the time, I'll experiment with different microphones and stuff, just to find the right thing that gives me the mood of that design that I have in mind for the game. I write all this stuff down. Quite often I would experiment with like processing, sending sound effects through the kind of master bus. And what would I have there? I would write that down. So I have this design document that I can come back to. And like, any comments from developer stuff, I would write down. So even if I jump into the project 10 years later, I can take that piece of documents and know exactly how to replicate what I'm doing in this project.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and reading through that helps with the content switching. So we might have this casino game here. Actually, bad example. We might have this happy mobile game over here, and then we might have this FPS shooter game over here. They're completely different from each other, but I have the design document for this. I can read, oh, this is how I worked on this. Let's go through that. This is how I worked on this, go through that. And I've had moments where I've had to jump into games like 10 years after.
Oh, wow.
I just take the design doc and I'm like, oh, this is how this works.
Got it.
Yeah, it really helps.
Okay, that's great advice. Keeping properly documenting your work on a per game basis. You feel like, just curious, you feel like you did that from the get-go, or you sort of had to learn a hard lesson? No, sounds like you always did it.
Kinda, yeah.
That good, dude.
No, but it comes from the music background.
Mm.
See, like writing down, what microphone did I use? Where was it? Was it like top snare microphone, bottom snare microphone, bass drum? Was it in, out? Where was it? Writing this stuff down. Because I might work with bands later on, and they're like, oh, that sound from that record, let's get that again. I'm like, hey, here's the cheat sheet. And I just figured the same thing would be handy with games, and turns out it was.
Awesome. I didn't even think about like the musical parallel to that, but that's really cool. And it looks like it really helps with the mentality of switching around and remembering what you've done.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, especially with games. As an audio engineer, you switch projects like on the regular.
For sure.
So
thank you for that question, Matthew. Hope that answers it. And yeah, moving on, I think that we have a pretty close vote between hands-on sound design and combining sound design and music. Combining sounds and music. So I think that we'll definitely start out with hands-on sound. You can say what you feel about this, Joonas, as well. Just think about it as we go. But I think we can do we have about 25 minutes left.
Okay.
So we can do either half and half or just some and some. Can go into the main interesting questions and the hands-on sound design methods segment, and then just finish up with combining sound design with music with the main points of that. And again, Q&A questions will influence what we talk about. So if someone just raises a very specific questions within one of these topics, we'll definitely get around to that for sure. So don't be shy. Hands-on sound design methods then. I think that's the one you sort of kind of corrected and wanted us to reframe and speak about. I think it's an interesting thing as well. Kind of ties into working on multiple different games as well, maybe. But it's two questions kind of tied into one. So when approaching a new game, you need to design for it. What's your thought process? How do you go about that? And then as a sort of micro example of that, when you approach a new sound that you need to design, what's your thought process? I'm guessing that they're sort of intertwined and they kind of communicate with each other. So I think that would be a fun question to answer at the same time, one to the other, communicating between them. But how do you go about doing new things?
Yeah, so indeed, let's start with the client writes to me. They're like, hey, we want you to work on this game. Now design something. The design document I was just talking about, that's step one. That's the important part. I mean, kind of went through it just now, but but yeah, it's pretty much that's kind of the design. I'll jump into. Let me just correct my seating position. My
Here you go.
ass is numb. TMI.
That's an album name right there.
Company name.
Ass is numb games.
Actually. But yeah, design document. I'll write down, the microphones, all that stuff. Kind of design and experiment. The design comes from experimentation.
Yeah.
But then getting into the more nitty-gritty actual design. When it comes to the whole game, I'll write the document and I'll go through stuff like, anything that can be generic kind of interactions. I would list things like that down. That's like, like material systems, physics systems, stuff like that. Like, we don't need to create new systems. Actually, let me rephrase that. New systems. So this helps the person programming the game. And also when I ask these questions, I learn about the game. Like when it comes to kind of generic systems designs, like physics and stuff, it helps to use the same system for all of that kind of stuff. So like physics systems, how like hitting metal and metal dragging or whatever, the exact same system can be used with wood, rocks and stuff like that. That's kind of this bigger level sound designing per game that I'm doing. I'm kind of thinking of these systems quite often with the programmer, just going through what is technically possible, how footsteps work, jumping, landing, if bullets hit walls, do we have a trigger there? Kind of designing this stuff. So once I know the technical limitations of the game, I can start to then design on those. But that's already part of the design, knowing what you can design on top of, which I feel like is important. Like imagine working on a game and then you notice, oh wait, all of these characters jump, and I haven't designed anything for jumping. Yeah, and just going through all this stuff. That's kind of the bigger level, and then it's just deciding the style. Is this gonna be like stylistic design? Like, will it be something like Nuclear Throne? Again, for some reason, Nuclear Throne. We wanted to do like C grade movies, not A grade movies, not B grade movies, but like 70s C grade movies was our initial inspiration. Yeah. So I would, write that down. So all the sounds are made with that in mind.
Games shit on purpose,
Yeah. It helps me. But then similar, like something like Downwell, that was supposed to be kind of like when you see it, you expect chiptune sounds.
Yeah.
But I wasn't that feeling it. I saw it and I was thinking, no, let's make it more tangible, physical and tangible in a way. So as a design thing for Downwell, I would record sounds weirdly. So like if I'm recording this rock and here's the microphone, I might turn the microphone off axis like that and then record the sound. So I get a lo-fi weird sound for it. So it doesn't sound like a hi-fi thing.
It's kind of a unique aesthetic.
Yeah. And like then on top of that, I would put like chip sounds from Game Boy, from LSDJ, a cartridge for the Game Boy, and I would get a bunch of cool sounds from Eirik, the music composer. He would send me I asked him to send me like a 5-minute kind of wave of weird sounds he comes up with, and I would put those on top of the other sounds. So that kind of more generic kind of style designing. Yeah, and
cool.
Yeah, and then that affects the smaller side. Like you have the list, then you have the actual assets, creating the assets. And, this kind of dictates these. And
That's cool. So it sounds like a lot of the way you approach sound design for a specific asset is driven for how you approach the game, and technical limitations and the general aesthetic will very much influence how you go about doing the single things. Just have that broader perspective and umbrella. All right, cool.
But yeah, with then again the single sounds, this is kind of the more approachable, interesting aspect, I guess.
Yeah, creative side of how to do that's definitely cool.
Yeah, so when I play a game or see a video, I would always prefer to actually play the game. Because to me, there's different ways to make video game sounds. You can make the kind of realistic route, or kind of, there's different ways to kind of work on a game, not just by style, but like, how does this sound function and feel? And to me, I always enjoyed when games feel like games. So to me, the most important thing, number one thing, is to make button press feel good. The actual button press. And
Button press field
Wait.
tattoo that people.
And what makes this interesting is when you have sounds like, for like guns and stuff, it's easy because you press a button, you usually shoot right away.
Yeah, for sure.
Just so you can easily make that feel good. But when you have something like delayed jumping, and you need to make the button press feel good, those are the kind of interesting designery stuff where you press the button and does that and then jumps. As soon as you press the button for this, I would make a sound that gives the player the feeling of the character doing that. So it could be, cloves. If it's a clothed character, perfect. Because you can use, or if it's like a backpack with equipment, you can make the equipment do like a kind of a sound for the button press. Just like a immediate, something that gives you immediate feedback that, hey, you pressed the button.
Yeah.
Like
okay.
as the player, I pressed a button. I think that's important because if you don't have that, it will feel sluggish subconsciously. Or
Direct
that's what I
feedback
least.
for your actions. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
an interesting little bullet there. Didn't think about that. But
Yeah, and if you
very
think of like playing, let's say, a guitar or synth or whatever through like an interface, and if you have latency, it messes up with your playing.
cool. Yeah, yeah,
Same with
yeah.
games,
Thing.
it messes up with your decision making. I feel like.
Yeah, no, that's a great little note there. I love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Let's move on to a different question.
Hmm.
I kind of know the answer to this because we sort of discussed this, but I'm curious to hear you expand on that. Do you prefer like recording as much of your own materials as you can, or will you use libraries often, or only when you have to? Like, what's your approach on the original versus library work and materials?
Yeah. I mean, I prefer to record stuff myself just because it's fun to me. I enjoy that stuff. When it comes to like music, I would rather record drums, like either single samples or like drummer, than just slap a plugin with a drum thing. But like, but I have nothing against using library stuff. And same with sounds. When it comes to like footsteps, it's just fun to come up with, okay, they're using this kind of a shoe, those kinds of clothes, that kind of material, and just figuring out a way to make it work. And also, when you do it yourself, and if you have like a setup where you can replicate things, you can do as many variations as you want specifically to the thing that you want to do. But I also use a bunch of libraries, of course, especially with like explosions and stuff. I've tried to go through the steps of recording explosions in Finland. I'm definitely not doing it.
Wow.
It's extremely costly and hard, and probably just won't end up as good as like well-made libraries. And then again, like with libraries, you sometimes find interesting things, like with Nuclear Throne. We wanted the C-grade thingy. There's some designed to be kind of like a C-grade movie, and I would try to find sound libraries that were used in old movies
Oh, okay.
and then incorporate that.
Vintage libraries. That's interesting.
Yeah. So like a lot of my work is kind of a mixture of both. But I do a lot of like field recording myself. I would go to locations to record stuff. And it's just a mix of both, but I enjoy the process myself, just having all this random junk, and then it's also fun to like voice act through stuff. So me
Oh,
talking now and me talking like this is two different things.
yeah. Screw speakerphone. I got IKEA boxes.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's go for a little fun one. What's the weirdest sound you've ever designed for a game?
Designed.
Or designed? Or what's the weirdest sound you had to put together for a specific game? I mean, if I really caught you off guard, then.
No, but the thing is, when you make a bunch of stuff, what is weird anymore? Let's see, what would be
What would you consider?
the day? What is the weirdest? I'm gonna take away all kind of fart sound stuff. That's kind of
Parts are boring.
yeah, they're a bit hurt. What would be a damn? There's so many.
We can circle back to
Weirdest.
this.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of something. Like, what would even categorize as weird with games?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I can ask you something else, and if you have an idea, you can pop that back in. Just
Actually, Oh wait, can I actually say this? Maybe it's too
Is it
adulty for this.
NDA or PG?
No, the PG definitely. Because I help my. I kind of scheme around it a bit. So I helped my coworker, like back, like years ago, old coworker of mine. They were working on a very peculiar game, and they had to make a sound for. So this is a video game. This is not real life or nothing like that. They had to make a sound for when you shoot and wait. Will this?
You don't have to.
Yeah,
Phil,
no.
like that.
So you had to shoot a net and capture a person, and there had to be a sound for action related. Actually, no, I won't go there. It's
Okay.
If you see me an after party, I can tell you that. But
If you want to know about
not internet.
Jonathan's weirdest sound design experience, buy him a beer. It'll
But
be an interesting
recording a weird sound. There's one definite answer here, and
There we go.
that is a toilet, or rather, an exploding toilet.
Exploding.
Yeah.
Wow, what game was that for? Or is that NDA?
That was just a field recording session.
Oh.
So, now the other stories coming to my mind. I'll need to put that aside. It's horrible. But okay, so exploding toilet. We had this. It was like a New Year's Eve, and we decided to go and record fireworks. So we would go to this forest and then shoot up fireworks and record them. But suddenly we had a lot of angry dog owners approach us.
Oh.
And we're like, oh no, what's this? Like, we are here alone, like no one's here. But apparently, when it's New Year's Eve, people take their dogs out to the woods away from fireworks. And of course, we brought fireworks to them, and they were really pissed, which I understandably so.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, okay, sorry. And we packed the car. We tried to find a place where can we record explosions isolated. And we went to this kind of construction site / docks kind of a thing.
Okay.
It's kind of semi-abandoned back then. These days, not. These days, it's extremely expensive housing, but back then it wasn't. So we would go over there, and we're like, hey, perfect, no one's here. It's a bit of a shady, junky place, so we were a bit on edge. But we were like, no one's here, let's just record some fireworks. As we did that, we noticed, wait, what's that over there? And we noticed it's a porcelain toilet, like a full ass toilet. And it's just and on sideways. And we just looked at each other like, definitely let's put a firework inside that and see, just try to get like a nice resonance from the porcelain or something. So we put this huge ass firework inside it. And, this is extremely nasty. So I put like one microphone. You know, you have the kind of the toilet. It's like this is the seat, and then this where's the back thing, and you have the pipe thing going down.
Yeah.
I would put like is it an SM52? SM52 I would put there. And then I had like microphones far away and around it. And
Loving this.
then we do it. We go, and now we close the lid as well. We would kind of like smack the lid open and like do that kind of thing or something.
Okay.
So we light it up. We run away like, okay, record, yes. The first thing I see when the firework thing, the fuse has gone, is I see this massive amount of flame come out from the pipe end of the toilet, completely frying my 52. SM52. It's just, the 52 was red hot. I shit you not, red hot, and the firework does not leave the toilet. It gets stuck in the toilet, so the toilet explodes violently. And inside the toilet, this is something we should have checked. It was not clean.
Oh my god.
So the inner the rocket got stuck. It probably like melted shit in like literal shit inside and got stuck. So when it exploded, what was the toilet full of? Shit. So this would like toilet paper and shit would just fly out, and it would actually land on us on our microphones and stuff. It's like, oh no. So we had to start cleaning, and we just left straight to the studio, and we had to go and like wipe all the cables and mics and stuff. And the 52, it was just red hot.
Well, that was quite the story. I did not expect that when I was asking this question. But
And the recording sucks, by the way. It's a really shitty It's a shitty recording.
Yeah. Oh my god. Well, that was a beautiful tale. I hope you all enjoyed it as well.
Well, I sure didn't at the time.
It's a shitty sample pack. Wow, puns can just make themselves at this point. All right, cool. Yeah, I'll ask, I think, one more question for this segment, and then we can maybe wrap up from the music and like sound, just like a general thought on that. If there's anything in particular you want to like discuss on this, go ahead. But I feel I'm gonna just choose. Is there like a favorite sound design method or plugin or like outboard piece of gear or something that is like you always go to or you've discovered over time that's like a very favorable method that you like to at least try or utilize a lot, something like that? That'll be cool.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, plenty. I'll do a few different answers. I'll do like a plugin answer and a hardware answer. For plugin stuff, how I work on sound effects is I have sound effects tracks. Then those go into a master aux. So I have or bus, whatever it's called in whatever software. So these tracks go into this aux, and I treat that as my master output. Then I have a recording track, like a print track. Mm-hmm. So I print from this to that. And how I like to work, why I'm saying that, it's just an easy way to edit sounds and... How would I explain this? It's also an easy way for me to visualize sounds. When I print them like that, I see what the output sound actually looks like. And what I like to do a lot is with plugins, I like to have like a maximizer as the last thing. Usually, like 99 out of 100 times, it's a maximizer at the very end. Mm-hmm. It's like how I like to process sound effects for games quite often is that they're not these spiky transient sounds. I like them to be a bit boxy.
Big old sausages.
Yeah, but there's a reason, like not full on blasted. Depends on the game though, but like usually not full on blasted. Because when you have like little sausagey sound, it's actually easier to mix in the game. And especially if you're using a game engine without FMOD and stuff, it's easier to mix sounds like that than to have lots of spiky sounds.
Less transient content.
Yeah, if you have too much transient content, which is also, I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but for how I work on stuff, I like to kind of not worry about that anymore. I'll just make sure it sounds good. But when you have it more blocky, it's just, I've noticed for me it's easier to mix stuff and make it sound nice and punchy and coherent.
Yeah.
So yeah, cool. Maximizer is my go-to plugin.
Maximizer, squasher.
Yeah, whatever. It can be, the inflator. It can be Pro Tools Maxim or Reaper's
Max.
I can't remember what it was in Reaper, but something.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But hardware, a channel strip, definitely. Yeah. Sadly, I currently don't have one, but here. But I mean, not to sound posh, I use a Neve 8801, and I've noticed that recording with a channel strip, it has made my work easier and better and faster, because I can already get the source sound to sound pretty good on its way in.
Just bake it in well.
Yeah, have a nice compressor there just to kind of give a bit more sausage. Not that stage is not sausage, but with channel strips as well, if you have output volume and input volume, like preamp and then the output transformer, cranking the input and making like extra distorted sounds is really fun too, and you can find new things from that. Like a lot of the punchy stuff that I do is actually just really driven, and I would cut the highs out so I get a nice thick sound that I can use in the front of sounds to give some weight to a sound.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So baking it in can definitely make the working with it process after easier. Sounds like a cool thing.
And more fun.
Actually, I think that I might have read the clock wrong, but I think we're kind of up on time.
Ooh, damn.
Yeah, I mean, it's 80 minutes tops. I think we are now into an hour and 20 minutes. Jesus.
Oh, wow.
So I think that we have to finish, you know?
Yeah, that is 80 minutes.
But, yeah. So, yeah, we've touched on a lot of things, but I think in general it was interesting to see how your thought process kind of goes into your sound design, either when working with a lot of different people, different disciplines, or sound designing on your own, and the way you approach different aspects of it, top level games, specific sounds, exploding toilets, you know, and whatnot. Yeah. But thank you so much, everyone, for joining us for this talk. It was super nice and chill. And thank you, Joonas, for sharing with us your wisdom. Hope you enjoyed it. And yeah, have a great rest of your AirCon. And I'll see you in the chat and all the other talks.
All right, thank you. Thank you to Air Wiggles and you, Avishai, and the chat. It was fun. Hopefully my questions were adequate enough. All right, catch y'all.